cut the music. So today we're going to be talking about drywalling. What drywalling and ceiling tiles installers. I mean, these people are needed across the board. It's amazing how many home builders are yelling. It's like, hey, we need drywallers. But during the pandemic, all our drywallers decided to get other degrees like in programming. And so now they're sitting inside of an office. And, well, actually, some of them can't really find jobs because now with Biden's on the loose, he's made it easier to hire programmers over in India. What does that mean? Well, most programmers here in America, while Trump is here, got paid $50 an hour. Now you can go to India and hire a $15 an hour programmer. You know, sure, it might take them a little bit longer and the code sucks, but, you know, hey, this is coming from a guy who's been in the coding industry for the last 25 years. So what do I know about drywalling? Well, I'm the opposite. I went from programming to being your local handyman. And of course, building a really cool website makes it free for any online services. So what are we going to be talking about when it comes to drywalling? Well, we're going to be talking about what they do, the knowledge, skills, and the abilities and the personalities that you must have in order to become a good drywaller. Can drywallers make great money? Well, yeah, but it's just like anything. When you first start out, your pay sucks. Just like anything, because you're learning the skills, you're learning the abilities, you're learning all the ins and outs of what makes a good drywaller. So let's go on to it. So what do drywallers do besides drink a lot of beer? Well, that's easy. So they apply plaster or other wallboards to the ceilings. You know, you've probably seen this stuff called drywall at Home Depot and Lowe's, which also, by the way, has some really great tools to open up beer. I've got tons of videos on Lowe's and Home Depot having some of the best beer openers around. What else do they do? Well, they apply and mount, acoustic tile ceilings, blocks, strips, sheets of, shock absorbent material to ceilings, to walls, to buildings, to reflect sounds. So you can specialize in drywalling. You want to do residential, you want to do commercial. There's a lot of different areas that you can do. So on the job, what are you required to do? Well, you're required to read blueprints and any other specifications that determine the methods of your installation and work procedures. You've got to measure the surface area to when you want to buy sheets of drywall, you don't buy too much or you don't cut yourself short. And of course, you need to fit and repair any drywalls that might happen. Like, for instance, if a Great Dane runs through your wall. Well, I've actually had that happen, and I fixed the drywall. Well, you can tell the difference between a professional drywaller and a guy who's done it for the first time. In my house, you looked at that drywall, which my Great Dane ran through, and you could tell I was a first-time drywaller. So what about the knowledge? What about the engineering technique skills that you got to have in this really fun industry? Well, you got to know the building and the construction material. You got to know the mechanics of it. Shaping drywall, you're just not cutting drywall. You're also having to shape it. And there's a lot of different things that you can do to come up with some really interesting designs when you're putting a wall on the house. Walls aren't just four corners anymore. But what about the math and science? Well, the math, you got to know, the calculations, square footage, algebra, geometry, calculus, stats. But the neat thing about that is there are programs out there that if you're not good in math, you just like, hey, I've got a house that does 400 feet by 20 feet. How much drywalling sheets do I need? And the stuff will come out. So where you're never having to buy too much or too little. What type of safety and government regulations do you need? Well, since you're here in America, you're going to actually need to know, what the public safety and security features are about drywalling. I mean, for instance, I've seen a drywaller, a new guy now, where it was the foreman's fault because this guy was new. He put this sheetrock up on the ceiling. And of course, during the night, a squirrel or a very large rodent, was in the attic. And of course, 3 of the sheets fell down. Well, that would have been anyone, during the daytime. It probably hurt someone. So once again, it's all about, knowing the material, knowing your safety concerns to have the right structure. Now, what about business? Well, later on in life, when you're become very proficient in, installing drywall, then you got to know your management skills. How to talk to the customers, how to buy the sheetrock, get in with the wholesalers, and a bunch of different things. And it's like I said, there's a lot to know, but it's not overwhelming. And once again, those drywallers that are out there now that have their own business in this housing boom, they're making a killing. What about the skills that you're going to need? Well, the skills are going to be your basic skills. Thinking about the pros and cons, different ways to solve a problem. Are you coming in there with a brand new wall that's empty? Or are you having to go in there and replace a bunch of sheetrock? I mean, during the last freeze in Houston, the drywallers were having to do a lot of basic skills because they're cutting 4 feet above the wall. And now all of a sudden you're having to work with the existing drywall that's there. Problem solving, you got to do it. So if you got to think, So if you notice that there's a problem, be the last guy that's going to have to fix this problem. Even though tell your customer, listen, if it's not a brand new installation, you got to tell the customers, yes, there's been a series of asses that came here to fix the problem, and you're constantly going to have problems unless we do it this way. Let me be the last guy to solve the problem. And most customers are going to be agreeing with you, and they'll let you do it. That right there will get the word around. So what about your abilities? What type of abilities are you going to need? And those are my abilities. All right. So what about the abilities? Abilities are, you're going to have to listen. Listen well in the loud noise. Hey, Guinness, no. What about your hands and fingers? You got to have hands and fingers for this job. All right? And of course, you got to have physical strength. You got to have a good back, good stomach, and you're going to lift and push and carry a lot of stuff. What about your personality? Well, you're going to have attention to details, dependability, cooperation, integrity, which is a very big one. You got to take ownership of what you're doing. And of course, achievement and self-control. What about the technologies that you're going to use? Well, there's certain apps, and there's new apps that are coming every day. You got to know, Microsoft Word or any other publishing, process software. You got to know different project, management software. And there's new stuff that's coming out there all the time. And of course, having a good accounting software to keep the job costing down. That's something that you're also going to need. Education goes, you don't really have to have a high school diploma or GED. You just got to have the will to figure it out and think. You might be new at this. It might be hard work in the very beginning, but guess what? And later on in life, the training that you're going to receive, you'll be able to do anything. So what about your training? I mean, where do I go if I don't have any money to become a drywaller? There are apprenticeships there all the time. And a lot of companies out there are willing to take you on if you don't know anything. You know, your starting salary might be $30,000 a year, you know, which is barely living. However, though, once you get to know the stuff, your salary will quickly rise, and you can make up to $100,000 in this industry. So, what can I say about all this? Besides the dog barking in the back, yeah, it's a great thing about working in the industry and having dogs. It's a great thing to have. So I want to thank my sponsors, Hammer and Nail and Beer. They're with me all the time, and this is everything that you probably need to know about drywalling. And from all of us here at localhandyman.org, we'd love to have you on our site, and this is great. Hey, our site's always growing. We always need your help. So from all of us here at localhandyman.org and the drywalling community, I wish you the best. Have fun in your endeavor. And like I said, y'all are needed, especially here in Houston. They're screaming for people to come on. So, all right. So now I get to go back to work.